ranking the Magnificent Seven, I've built a large position in Tesla. Great for you, but don't yet hold any of the others of the Magnificent Seven. If you could choose one of the remaining 6, which would it be and why? And would the recent Mag 7 NASDAQ rebalancing change the decision-making process? Great questions. Let's dig in. And of course, this is not going to be a full in-depth analysis of the top 7 that takes more time, but I'll show you some of the key things that I look at to determine if I want to invest or not, to kind of trigger my radar and what my threshold is. We'll talk a lot about thresholds today in today's video too. So first of all, I did a video on this over a week ago. The NASDAQ rebalance is a nothing burger. I think it was 2 Fridays ago. So don't worry about that. Very, very small effect, particularly for Tesla, as we saw. Now, the new Magnificent Seven, as a reminder of what they are, it's Apple, NVIDIA, Meta, Tesla, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And for those who don't know, Alphabet is Google, one and the same thing. Now, I'm going to break down the top 7 and look at revenue growth and earnings growth out to 2025 to give you a feel of exactly what's going on. So this is Apple, first of all, in the box. And you guys know I don't like companies that have slow growth. But here, yeah, revenue is picking up a bit, depending on that $5,000 whatever headset they're selling or whatever it is, I can't remember. But earnings are forecast to grow only by 6% per year. So as far as I'm concerned, that's not disruption. So that wouldn't be getting my dollars. Let's look at Google. Number 2 on the list. They are trading at about 20% below kind of fair value as I see it. And earnings are growing at 13.7% per year. Not bad, better. Let's look at Amazon growth now. It's about 20% below fair value based on our numbers. But what's important here is earnings are forecast to grow at 36.9% per year. Wow, 36.9% earnings growth is huge. It's really impressive. But remember, you have to look at the graphics. I'm going to zoom in again. You can see how they're starting at a negative base. So they were actually loss-making because of write-offs of some of their investments, and that took them down. So it's easy to go from, say, 5 cents of profit to 8 cents of profit. That's 36%. But given their amount of revenue, it's actually not very good. So therefore, Amazon is there. That's why one of the reasons I don't hold it. Let's look at Microsoft. Now, Microsoft, their price to earnings ratio is about 34, which is in traditional markets considered expensive, but the software industry is now trading about 47. So it's cheaper than the average software industry. But remember, it's nearly a $3 trillion company. It's huge. And earnings are forecast to grow by 11% per year. Again, 11 doesn't get me excited. Let's look at Meta. Interesting one here, trading at about 20%, 22% below fair value. Earnings are forecast to grow at 19.5% per year. Now that's more like it. I like it. And the beauty of Meta, we'll talk more about Meta as well in a minute, because it's related to another question that came in a week ago in Patreon. But that is the type of juice we like. Let's look at Tesla. Obviously, my biggest position. Tesla are forecast to grow 21.6% per year. Earnings grow by 29%. So, but in reality, the earnings growth will be a lot higher than that, I estimate, because they have so much attribution coming from so many revenue lines. I'll talk about that a little bit later in answer to another question, why they have something like 28 startups inside one company, and each one makes money or will be making money in the future. Now, NVIDIA, the other big shining star of the year, earnings are forecast to grow 31.72% per year. Bonkers growth, okay? But the problem is that's priced into the stock already. I have a little bit of NVIDIA, but I sold literally 80 to 90% of it and found a leap or a synthetic long in another account somewhere. So weird background story on that one. So let's talk about the summary of where we are. So I go for growth and valuation. So you can have very high growth, but it can be priced into stock. Therefore, it can nix certain things from me. So NVIDIA has great growth, but it's all priced in. You know, buying that at 150, 160 last year was the deal. Meta has great growth and a cheap valuation. But regarding Meta, that was trading at a PE of 7 back in October. And I'll show you the trade based on that. I was just looking at PE of 7. Geez, that's silly, stupid numbers. Anyway, Apple, Amazon, Google are not growing fast enough for my liking, and Tesla is the best all-round growth and profit potential. Meta is second. And in full disclosure, I own Meta, Tesla, and Google. Sold 60% of it this year. 60% of my Google position. And I've held Google for a long time. So it's hard to break with that, but I'm flipping it into other assets that people know within Patreon. So let's talk about Meta, because this kind of answers two questions that are beyond the other questions. So this is the Meta trade, and when we jumped in, obviously what's interesting about this, Meta is up 260% in 267 days. That is incredible return. So everybody, please don't expect those type of returns in equities. It's very rare that it happens, and it takes a nasty bear market to get these opportunities. And I call it running into a burning building when you see things like that. And that's what I do. And this is the trade. Before I share another question, actually, let's go to the question first, because people say, oh, that's impossible. Now, I know a lot of other channels brag about their trades and everything else, but I do publish all mine in real time to Patreon, so everybody knows exactly what I'm doing, every transfer, every move. But this was an extraordinary bear market, and this is a real post as well from my brokerage account today. And I don't talk about this much stuff. I focus much more on educating others, helping them achieve financial freedom. And I focus on walking the walk, no hot air, not anything else. And by the way, this was not the only trade like this I did over the last 8 months. I did many of them. Now, this is the question came in from Patreon. How can I turn 20,000 into 1 million? Well, this trade is even better. If you just invested 8,000, you could get to $500,000, or 16K, $1 million. So that beats the 20K into 1 million. And obviously people want to do that, but I must stress, it's very rare that you get these opportunities. So this was a net debit per contract of $4, strike $100 for Meta out to January 2024. So they're 6 months away from expiring. The value of each contract now is 23 grand. The ROI is 5,650%, or it's a 58 bagger, and it's really big. And for those who don't believe, everything's published live. This was the actual post on October 27th, 2022. And again, these things are possible, but it's rare to get a 60 bagger. 10 baggers I can do all the time. 60 baggers are harder, but it was a very special bear market. That's why in October and November and December and January, I couldn't stop smiling, because I knew things were beyond oversold. We got this model called mean reversion, and you could see that there was like literally 1 in 10 year events were happening before my very eyes. And I was like, woohoo, looking behind the couch, pulling pennies from everywhere and flipping pristine assets into things to make these trades happen. Anyway, enough of that. Next question.